You know that physical shock of waking up from a falling nightmare?
Oh yeah, absolutely terrifying.
Right. Your eyes snap open, your breath catches, you're gripping the sheets. Because a second ago, the terror of falling was like your entire universe.
Your heart rate is literally proving it to you.
Exactly. And then the bedroom comes into focus, and the entire reality you just inhabited just vanishes. You realize you were safe the entire time in your bed.
It's a complete override of your reality, you know?
Yeah.
The brain just discards an entire world of sensory data in a fraction of a second just by waking up.
Yeah, and we are jumping into today's deep dive with a premise that basically demands you apply that exact same mechanism to the room you are sitting in right now.
Right.
The job you stress over, the identity you spend so much time cultivating. The core argument we are tackling today is that all of it is just, well, another level of that dream.
And that waking up from it not after you die, but right here, right now, is the ultimate goal of human existence.
So we're looking at a seriously dense stack of materials today to explore this, right?
We really are. We've got the foundational ancient Indian texts, specifically the Upanishads and the Ashtavakra Gita.
Right.
And we're pairing those heavily with the analytical commentaries of the 8th century philosopher Adi Shankara.
And since most of you listening to this deep dive are likely already familiar with the broad strokes of Advaita Vedanta, the philosophy of non-duality, the idea that there's only one true reality, we're gonna bypass the basic dictionary definitions today.
Yeah, we can skip the 101 stuff.
Right. Our mission today is to dig into the actual mechanics of this philosophy. We're breaking down Shankara's highly technical arguments around Maya, which is the cosmic illusion, and avidya, personal ignorance.
And from there, we're dissecting the radical concept of Jivanmukti.
Liberation while living.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because honestly, reading through Shankara's commentaries, I hit a massive wall of practicality.
I think everyone does at first.
Right, because if this entire philosophy rests on the claim that the whole one is an illusion, why should you or I care about paying our bills, or being a decent partner, or acting ethically at all?
Sounds like a free pass.
Yeah. If none of this is real, the nihilistic approach seems like the most logical response. We have to ground this, or the whole philosophy just sounds like an excuse to detach from, well, responsibility entirely.
Well, Shankar actually spends a massive amount of ink addressing that exact threat of nihilism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he knew it was a risk. But to understand why your bills and your relationships still carry immense weight, we have to look at the architecture of the illusion itself.
Okay.
So, we accept the premise that Brahman, the infinite, unchanging consciousness, is the sole reality.
Right, non-duality.
Right. So where does the chaos of our daily lives come from? Shankara points to Maya. But he defines Maya very specifically as a twofold power.
Right, I remember this. It's Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti, the concealing power and the projecting power.
Yes. So Avarana Shakti acts like a veil. It completely obscures the underlying reality of Brahman.
It just hides it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Maya doesn't just leave a void. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does Maya. The moment reality is concealed, Vikshepa Shakti kicks in and projects a multifaceted, fragmented universe right over the top of it.
Okay, I was actually thinking about how VR headsets are basically built on Shankara's model.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, like when you strap a headset to your face, you trigger Avarana Shakti, you are completely blind to the actual living room you were standing in.
You can't see the couch, the TV.
Exactly. But you aren't just standing in darkness. The headset immediately uses Vikshepa Shakti to project a zombie apocalypse into your eyes, and you react to the zombies. You sweat.
Yeah, your body thinks it's real. Shankara's classic analogy for this is the rope and the snake.
Okay, lay that one out.
So you step into a dimly lit room, and you see a snake coiled on the floor. Your nervous system reacts instantly, right, to a lethal threat.
Adrenaline spike, totally.
But then someone turns on the light, and you see it's just a rope. The snake was a superimposition of projection over the truth of the rope.
Wow.
And what's fascinating here is the critical point Shankara makes about the nature of the fear. The snake is an illusion, but your fear is a genuine experience.
Oh, I see.
Right. Maya is not a state of just pure nothingness. It possesses an experiential reality.
I see the distinction. The illusion has teeth, so to speak, even if it's completely constructed.
Exactly.
But wait, if Maya is this massive cosmic force wielding the projecting power of the entire universe, how does that translate into, like, my personal anxiety?
That's the big question.
Yeah. How does the universe's grand illusion become my specific stress about an awkward email I just sent to my boss? Where is the bridge between the macro and the micro?
So that bridge is the concept of avidya.
Avidya. Ignorance.
Right. While Maya is the overarching cosmic mechanism utilized by Ishwara, the creator, to manifest the universe, avidya is the individualized mechanism of ignorance. Avidya is what binds the jiva, the individual soul. It's like this localized amnesia that makes you identify exclusively with your specific body and your specific mind.
You know, the sources kept using the ocean and the foam to explain this, but honestly, that metaphor always feels a bit, I don't know, flat to me.
How so?
Well, it tells me what the relationship is like. The foam is just the ocean, but it doesn't really explain how the bubble actually forgets it's the ocean.
Ah, I see what you mean.
I kept thinking about it more like getting profoundly lost in a novel.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. When you open a deeply immersive book, you temporarily grant reality to ink on a page. You know logically it's just paper.
Right.
But when the protagonist gets cornered by a villain, your heart rate actually spikes. You might even cry if a character dies.
Totally.
Your own localized focus, your avidya, basically causes you to forget the room you're sitting in, and you merge your identity with the character on the page. You literally impose limits on yourself to experience the narrative.
That is a highly accurate modern framing of Shankara's point, actually. Avidya is the localized focus that sustains the narrative of you.
Right.
It creates the ego, the sense of I and mine. And crucially, the texts assert that this localized ignorance obscures the Atman.
The soul.
Yes. Now, Atman is simply Brahman, the universal consciousness, experiencing itself subjectively within that localized form.
Okay, so the Atman is the reader temporarily convinced they are the character in the book.
Exactly. And the only way out of the narrative is Atmavidya, which is self-knowledge.
So you wake up.
Right. You don't have to fight the villain in the book. You just have to close the cover. You remove the ignorance, and the realization dawns that the separation never actually existed in the first place.
Okay, I mean, the philosophy tracks beautifully on a metaphysical level, but I'm going to push back hard here on the physical level.
Let's hear it.
Let's say I'm fully bought into the idea that I am the Atman, right? I'm just reading the book. If I stand up right now and shatter my toe against a heavy wooden coffee table, it hurts, like a lot.
Oh, undeniably.
Yeah. Dismissing a broken toe as avidya or just ink on a page feels incredibly dismissive of the actual human condition.
Which is precisely why Shankara introduced Sada, the 3 grades of reality.
Oh, okay.
He was a realist in that sense. He knew that any philosophy that tells a person to ignore a broken bone is practically useless.
Right. It doesn't help me when I'm limping.
Exactly. Advaita Vedanta does not claim your toe doesn't exist. It categorizes how it exists.
Okay, walk me through his categorization then. Because if it's all an illusion, how do we rank illusions?
Well, we rank them by their capacity to be sublated or canceled out by a higher truth.
Canceled out. Got it.
So the lowest grade is pratipasika sata. This is purely subjective reality.
Like what?
A literal dream you have at night, or, hallucinating water in a desert. It exists only for the perceiver and is instantly sublated the moment you wake up or get closer to the mirage.
Right. I wake up, the dream monster is gone. I don't need to call the police about the dream monster.
Exactly. Then you step into Vyavaharika Satata. This is empirical reality, the shared waking world.
The coffee table.
The coffee table. In this grade of reality, the law of cause and effect is absolute. If you kick the table, you will break your toe.
And it will hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to eat to survive here. You have to work. You have to engage with other people.
So Shankara is saying the table is real, but only within its specific bandwidth of reality.
Yes, and it remains utterly real for you until you achieve the 3rd grade, which is Paramarthika Sada, absolute reality.
Brahman.
Brahman. This is the only reality that is never sublated by anything else.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because this directly answers my challenge from the intro.
Right, about paying your bills.
Yeah. If the empirical reality is eventually sublated by the absolute reality, why bother being ethical? Why pay bills? If it's Vyavaharika, it's basically just a shared hallucination.
Because you cannot cheat the system.
What do you mean?
If you are operating within Vyavaharika, if you still feel hunger, if you still feel pain, if you still have an ego, you are bound by its rules.
Ah, I see.
You can't just claim ultimate absolute freedom to justify bad behavior in the empirical world. If you use empirical reality to steal someone's money, you will suffer empirical consequences.
So you have to play the game by the rules of the level you are currently on.
Precisely. But Advaita Vedanta goes even deeper into the psychological mechanism of ethics.
How so?
It argues that true ethical behavior doesn't come from just forcing yourself to follow the rules of the empirical world out of fear of punishment.
Like avoiding jail time.
Right. True ethics come from the realization of the absolute. Shankara argues that all moral failure, greed, violence, lying is a direct symptom of avidya, of ignorance.
Let's test that. How does realizing we are the same universal consciousness suddenly stop someone from lying on their taxes or like deceiving a friend? What is the actual mechanism there?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about the prerequisites for lying. To lie, there must be a deceiver, and there must be an other who is deceived. Furthermore, the deceiver must have a localized ego, a sense of self that needs to be protected or enriched by the lie.
So it requires separation. It requires a subject and an object.
Yes, when a person genuinely pierces through avidya and realizes atmavidya, when they know deeply that the Atman within them is the exact same Atman within you, the utility of lying just evaporates.
That's wild.
Values like ahimsa, which is nonviolence, and satya, truthfulness, they aren't commandments in Advaita Vedanta. They are the natural, spontaneous byproducts of non-duality.
Because if there is no other, who are you stealing from? You're just taking from your left pocket to put in your right pocket.
Exactly.
It makes malice mathematically impossible.
And it completely reframes how we view moral development. You don't become ethical by piling on layers of discipline and societal fear. You become ethical through subtraction.
Subtraction.
Yeah, by stripping away the false notion that you are somehow separate from the world around you.
Which brings us perfectly to the ultimate subtraction, the Jivan Mukta.
Ah, yes.
The person who achieves this absolute liberation while still breathing, walking around, and supposedly living a normal life. I want to spend some real time on how a person actually gets to this state.
It's a fascinating process.
Because the texts outline these 7 stages of consciousness, the Jnana Bhumikas, and they sound incredibly intense.
They map out the systematic dismantling of the ego, essentially.
Yeah.
It begins with sukhecha, which is simply the deep, agonizing longing for truth.
Okay.
It's the moment you look at the empirical world and realize this cannot be all there is.
Honestly, that sounds like a standard existential crisis. I feel like most people hit that by their 30s.
Oh, many do, definitely. But they distract themselves.
Right, with work or buying things.
Exactly. But moving to the second stage, vikarana, requires relentless inquiry. You don't just feel the crisis. You actively interrogate your reality through study and reflection.
You dig in.
Yes. And this intense focus naturally forces you into the third stage, Tanumanasi.
Okay, the sources translate Tanumanasi as the thinning out of mental activities and desires. I have to ask, does thinning of the mind mean becoming a vegetable?
Not at all.
Because if I thin out my desires, do I lose my ambition to build a business or care for my family?
It's a critical distinction to make. You aren't lobotomizing your intellect. You are thinning out the attachments of the mind.
The attachments.
Right, the obsessive craving for outcomes. You still chop wood and carry water, but your internal equilibrium is no longer violently tied to whether society praises your wood chopping or completely ignores it.
Oh, wow. So you're severing the emotional burden that the empirical world holds over you.
Exactly, you're free from it. And once that mind is thinned, the text describes sattvapati, which is the attainment of pure luminosity. The mind is just perfectly clear.
And that leads to the next stage.
Yes, this leads directly to asamsakti, complete detachment. You perform your duties in the world, but you are entirely unaffected by their fruits.
Which sets the stage for the 6th and 7th levels, where things get truly radical, right?
It's very radical. Padartha bhavana, where external objects literally lose their reality to you.
Just totally sublated.
Exactly. Culminating in turiya, pure, uninterrupted transcendental consciousness.
So what does this all mean for daily life? The Jivan Mukta resides in that state of turiya while still operating a physical body.
Yes, so do.
And here is where I struggle with the descriptions of a Jivan Mukta.
Why is that?
Well, the texts describe them as a choiceless witness. They have 0 past regrets because the past is an illusion, and 0 future anxieties.
Right.
They view their own physical body as if it belongs to someone else. I have to play devil's advocate here. Doesn't that sound dangerously close to a sociopath?
It's a common concern, actually.
Like, if my partner gets sick and I have 0 future anxiety about it, am I enlightened or am I just a terrible, apathetic partner?
It's the most common trap when trying to conceptualize non-duality from a dualistic mindset.
Okay, explain that.
Apathy and profound attachment look very similar from the outside, but their internal mechanisms are polar opposites.
How so?
Apathy is a defense mechanism of the ego. It says, I don't care about your suffering because dealing with it threatens my comfort. It is deeply rooted in avidya and separation.
It's a shield.
Yes. The Jivanmukta's detachment, however, is rooted in absolute connection. Remember, they experience no separation between themselves and the sick partner.
Right, the oneness.
Exactly. They will care for the partner with total presence, unbound by the paralyzing panic of future outcomes.
Oh, I see.
Think about it. Anxiety doesn't heal a sick person.
Yeah.
Clear, compassionate action does. The Jivanmukta acts with total efficiency because their energy isn't being drained by the ego's terrified projections of the future.
So they are fully engaged in the action of care, but completely surrendered to the outcome.
Perfectly said.
That requires a terrifying amount of trust.
It requires the complete dissolution of the ego's need to control empirical reality. And the Jabara Upanishad makes a fascinating point about how this actually looks to the outside world.
What does it say?
It notes that a Jivanmukta carries no outward insignia. They don't wear a specific uniform or have a halo. They might just blend in as a completely unremarkable person at the grocery store.
The undercover enlightened.
Yeah, exactly. Or, on the flip side, because they are entirely unbothered by societal judgments,
Right.
they might appear completely unhinged to us.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the texts recount historical figures like Seshadri Swamigal, who would sometimes wander into local shops and just start throwing merchandise into the street.
If you do that today, you get arrested, not worshipped.
Absolutely. To the empirical mind, it looks like pure madness. But those who interacted with him reported experiencing this profound, unexplainable spiritual silence in his presence.
Wow.
Now, the point the texts are making isn't that you should throw merchandise into the street.
Right, please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't. The point is that absolute freedom looks incomprehensible to a mind that is entirely chained to societal approval.
That completely upends our cultural obsession with self-improvement, you know?
It really does.
We are constantly trying to add things to our identity. A better job title, a mindfulness certificate, a perfectly curated social media aesthetic.
Building the ego.
Right. Advaita Vedanta basically says you are just putting more elaborate clothing on the character in the novel. True liberation is realizing you are the reader.
Which is why the Ashtavakra Gita offers what is essentially a direct, immediate method of self-inquiry. It cuts through all the philosophical theorizing.
I was hoping we could end on this because if you are listening right now, the text offers an almost instant moksha technique that you can try right where you're sitting.
It's very practical.
Yeah, it asks you to actively strip away every label you use to define yourself. Stop identifying with your job. Stop identifying with your family roles.
But it goes further than just external labels. You must strip away the internal states as well.
Like what?
Drop the label I am anxious, drop I am tired, drop I am curious.
You just keep peeling back the layers until there's absolutely nothing left but the raw, unqualified feeling of existence.
Pure awareness.
Just the awareness of being alive before the brain even has a chance to attach a story or a complaint to it. I am. That's it. Just resting in the screen rather than staring at the movie projected onto it.
And experiencing that, even for just a few seconds, proves Shankar's point. The anxiety isn't the absolute reality, it's just a projection.
It's an incredible journey we've charted today. We started with the jarring realization that our entire perceived universe is filtered through Maya, the cosmic projector, and avidya, our localized amnesia.
Right. And we dug into how the 3 grades of reality allow us to respect the laws of the physical world without being spiritually crushed by them.
Yeah, and we saw how true ethics are not just a burden imposed by society, but the inevitable result of realizing that separation is an illusion entirely.
As a natural byproduct.
And finally, we looked at the terrifying, beautiful freedom of the Jivanmukta, the ultimate choiceless witness who operates completely free from the tyranny of the past and the future.
And you don't need to retreat to a cave in the Himalayas to access this. You can practice being the witness the next time you're stuck in traffic or navigating a difficult conversation.
The opportunity to wake up is present in every single moment because the absolute reality is the only thing that is always here.
Always present.
Well, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today. The next time you feel completely consumed by dread over an upcoming deadline or paralyzed by a regret from 10 years ago, take a breath and investigate the you that is feeling that stress. Is it the absolute infinite reality? Or is it just a temporary character agonizing over a plot twist in an empirical dream? If your true self is the screen, why be so afraid of the movie?